One of the most interesting things that I've encountered and learned as being a recruiter is how important self awareness is for a company and for an interviewer. And the reason why it's so important is because a company can't actually examine fit in an interview process if they don't know who they are. And first, let's say we're all still getting to know each other. I'm 37 years old. I'm still getting to know myself. I'm going to be getting to know myself for the rest of my life. Self awareness is a journey. None of us are completely self aware. And the people who think they are fully self aware probably don't know how much they're not aware of. But people who are in hiring positions who have not been intentional about this journey are at a particular disadvantage because if you think about humans as animals and you hire a salmon to climb a tree and you hire a monkey to swim in the ocean, you're going to fail. And we have been designed and hardwired with some incredible behavioral patterns in our personalities. And those personality patterns have a big impact on how we show up at work, how we handle stress, what kind of problems we enjoy solving. And leaders and hiring authorities who are not attuned first to their own sensitivities, their own strengths, their own weaknesses, are consequentially blind to the specific traits of the people they're interviewing that may advantage or disadvantage them in the roles and may demand a certain kind of leadership or style or investment from them in order for that employee to be successful. And then you can expand this concept to the organization, where sometimes we see organizations whose mission statement and core values were written by the marketing department as they think this is what the market wants to hear. And so this is what we're going to say. And there's not a lot of self-awareness about what really drives us. Why do we really get up in the morning? And money is not the right answer. Organizations that are driven by money are inherently shallow organizations. They're inherently mercenary organizations. If you're serious about building true high quality culture, producing an incredible product, delighting customers, you have to be serious about making sure there's really good alignment between what the organization says it is and who the people are in the organization, because the mission won't happen without people who are aligned to that mission. So organizations go into the hiring process and they're not clear about their mission. They're not clear about their values. They're not clear about the chemistry that is the organizational personality, this compendium of all the personalities at every strata of the company. When you have a high-paced CEO driving things who, let's say they're not self-aware, and so everything they do has to be high-paced. They don't know how to slow down. That's going to permeate through the whole company and have certain deleterious effects on the culture of the business, performance, retention, etc. And that CEO may not be aware of their impact on the organization because of their personality if they don't have that self-awareness. And so the humility for a leader to step back, look at the problems in their organization, and maybe see those as mirrors of some of the imperfections or rough edges in their skill set, maybe areas where their strengths are overcoming or maybe playing too big of a role, and they need to back up and let somebody with some strengths in those other areas, such as attention to detail, fill in. It's really about learning how to operate more as a team than it is as the end all be all, right? A lot of organizations operate with the senior leadership being simply the most experienced, not necessarily the most helpful or not necessarily the most wise. So back to self-awareness and getting candidates to um, really identify with who your organization is. If you don't know who your organization is, it's very hard to sell your organization in an honest way that cultivates the kind of informed commitment and loyalty that candidates really want to have. I can't tell you how many people tell us, I want this change to be my last change. But part of that requires interviewers who know how to set expectations with a candidate around, this is what gets you promoted. This is what gets you a raise. This is what gets you on a PIP. This is what gets you fired. When organizations have those parameters clear in their minds, leadership is freer to operate within the mission statement. Employees are freer, and it becomes clearer about who's a fit and who's not a fit. So if you're going through interviewing and your mission is vague in your mind, your core values are vague in your mind, why people get promoted, how they get promoted, what's really important to you, what drives you crazy about people, what drives you crazy about your industry, delving into those things and getting really clear about who are we, what are our convictions, what do we believe, what are we willing to be punished for, all of that will produce significant benefits to your interviewing process, because now you're learning a language and a heuristic, an evaluation heuristic that helps you communicate to people who identify with that and weed out people who don't. And by the way, that's not a pejorative thing for the people who don't, right? There's a lot of different people out there in the world. There's a lot of different companies. We're trying to find the right fits. And if they're not a right fit for you or you're not a right fit for them, that's not a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing for people to say, hey, you're not the right fit for me. You want that because you can spend 6 months and $500,000 trying to make that work when it shouldn't work. Stuff to chew on. I'd love to know what you think in the comments. I'm trying to get more comments in this page. We're trying to grow this YouTube channel. So like, subscribe, comment if you will. I'd love to get a conversation going. Thank you.